What's up, boxing fans? This is TBE Boxing, back at you again. Today's topic, Terence Crawford will stop Shawn Porter. Ldbc and Errol Spence fanboys praying for a close fight. Let's chop it up and see what it's all about.
Got the money for minutes, pretty bitch, gotta show me titties. This is the life that I chose, on the block with the pole, This is the life that I chose, on the block with the pole, That lucky for riches, That lucky for riches, Pretty bitch, show me titties, And I got the glazzy run up on me, I'ma make you get it. I'ma make you get it.
Okay, boxing fans, let's talk some boxing. We're gonna chop it up. Big fight tonight. Showtime Shawn Porter versus Terence Crawford. But before we get started, I want you guys to know that I'm starting a new channel called TBE Combat Sports. You can find it on YouTube. Okay, we're going to cover the UFC, boxing, and and various combat sports. Okay, so make sure you go to that channel and like and subscribe. There's not content in that channel yet, but go there, like and subscribe to the channel, and look forward to combat sports commentary coming soon. Okay, all right, so let's get started on this fight. Okay, so the fight is tonight. There's a lot of talk. All the talking is over with now, and now it's time for action. And we're gonna see what these guys, Showtime Shawn Porter and Terence Crawford have to offer. Now, there's a lot of people talking about this fight. Actually, this fight has actually become the biggest fight of the year. Actually, definitely the biggest fight in the welterweight division in a long time. So the fight has become bigger than itself. Basically, it's becoming it has become one of the biggest fights in boxing at this point in time. So in this video, we're gonna be talking about who's gonna win this fight and why. Okay, and as it's no secret that you see on the graphic that I put up there, I have Crawford win by knockout between 1 and 6 rounds. Okay. I'll give you the reasons why I think that's gonna happen shortly. But a lot of people out there talking about it's gonna be a close fight, it's gonna be a split decision. I even hear people talking about it's gonna be a draw. It might be a draw. That's what they're hoping for. Now what you're gonna hear from people about this fight is gonna depend on who they are, basically. Okay. And we can break them up into different categories. So when you talk about the Errol Spence, fanboys, those are the ones who are talking about it's going to be a close fight. It might be a draw. It's going to be a split decision. This, that, and the other. Now, most of those guys are going to be judging the fight, by what happened between Errol Spence and Shawn Porter. So, for most of them, the fact that we have to understand something. Let's go take a little trip down memory lane. For most of those Errol Spence fanboys and some of the, these people in the Ldbc, prior to the fight between Errol Spence and Shawn Porter, they all thought that Errol Spence was going to knock out Shawn Porter. Okay? This was, you can go back and look at their videos and you'll see that. And Errol Spence said that himself, he was going to knock out Shawn Porter. So most of these guys was talking about how, Shawn Porter is a perfect style for Errol Spence. He keeps coming in and Errol Spence is going to catch him coming in and Errol Spence is going to clip him and Errol Spence is going to knock him out. This is what they were all saying. None of the Ldbc or those Errol Spence fanboys gave Shawn Porter any chance whatsoever of winning against Errol Spence. Okay? Nobody gave Shawn Porter a chance. They all thought he was going to lose by knockout in that fight. Well, lo and behold, we all saw that far from it being a knockout for Errol Spence, it was a life and death struggle with Shawn Porter. And some people up to this day still think Shawn Porter won that fight, despite the fact that he got knocked down. And that wasn't really a knockdown. It was a technical knockdown because he never fell on his back or anything. He just touched the canvas with his hands. So that's a technical knockout. He didn't actually get knocked down. Okay, so people talk about the knockdown, that Errol Spence won by a knockdown because of the knockdown, but it wasn't really a knockdown. He just touched the canvas. So that's what that was. So no, so a lot of people, and even the judges and everybody else gave Errol Spence that fight based on the knockdown. That really wasn't a knockdown. That was really a technical knockdown. Okay, and so many people said, "Oh well, it was a close fight, but because of the knockdown, they gave it to Errol Spence." Well, some people actually gave Shawn Porter that fight despite the so-called quote unquote knockdown, which was a technical knockdown again. Okay, so the fight was, I say all that to say this, that the fight was very close. It was a very close fight. And a lot of people were shocked by that. Okay. But they figured out some excuse as to why the fight was so close. It had nothing to do with the fact that Errol Spence was overrated, which is actually what it was. Spence was overrated. In that fight, in comparison to Shawn Porter, and the fight, showed us that. So, based on that fight, a lot of people, they're thinking that there's no way that, Terence Crawford could actually go out there and, probably stop Shawn Porter or, defeat him, convincingly because, and the reason they think that can't happen is because, Errol Spence couldn't do it. So because Errol Spence couldn't do it, they're thinking that Terence Crawford can't do it. Okay? And also, on a positive note, a lot of people gave Showtime Shawn Porter a lot of credit after that fight, which, it was well deserved that they should give him credit for that because he put up a great performance when many people thought he was going to lose. So, based on all of that, Shawn Porter's stock went up. Naturally, Errol Spence stock should have went down, which it did in actual reality. But in the minds of the Errol Spence fanboys and the Ldbc, and that didn't happen because fanboys and they're not dealing with reality. Okay, so they don't see what's really going on. So at the end of the day, this is what most people are saying now, that it's gonna be a tough fight, and the only reason they're actually saying that is because it was a tough fight between Errol Spence and Shawn Porter. So they expect it to be a tough fight between Crawford and Shawn Porter. But that's not necessarily the case. Both of these guys are two different guys, different styles, a different way of fighting. And I don't really see that just because Errol Spence had a tough time with Crawford, that, tough time with Shawn Porter, that, that Crawford is going to have a tough time. That doesn't necessarily follow. That's not necessarily logical. Okay, so, well, if that's not the case, and that's not necessarily logical, and that necessarily what's going to happen, then what is going to happen? Well, what I think is going to happen is that I think we're going to see Shawn Porter come in the ring and try various different techniques to try and get to Crawford, and I think he's going to fail. I think that Crawford is going to stop him. Okay, because I think that Shawn Porter is coming in this fight to win, and that means he's coming in great condition. He's coming in. He's going to be very, I'm pretty sure he's going to be very active, and I don't think Crawford is going to have any choice but to stop Shawn Porter to keep from getting himself knocked out, because I think Shawn Porter is coming in this fight to win, and he said himself he's coming to stop Terence Crawford. He's going for the stoppage. So if Crawford don't want to be stopped, he's going to have to stop Porter. So this is why I'm picking a stoppage between round 1 and 6. I don't see this fight going the distance because both of these guys are in great shape and they're coming to win. Okay, and both of them are coming for the stoppage. Even though Terence Crawford said that he's not looking for a knockout, but if it comes, it comes. Shawn Porter, Showtime, said he's looking for the knockout. He's going to try for that. So there's a lot to be gained for Showtime Shawn Porter in this fight. If he wins it, okay. This would be a legacy fight for Showtime Shawn Porter. If he wins this fight, his stock he'll be the #1 welterweight in the world by far. Okay, nobody will be close to him, resume wise. Okay, so that's that's basically how it would shape out if Shawn Porter was to win. He'd become the number one welterweight in the world. He'd be number one. As far as I'm concerned, he'd be number one. He definitely would be the number one pound for pound welterweight. It would definitely be at the top, in the top 5 pound for pound, if he was to beat Terence Crawford, without a doubt. Okay, so and I'm going to say something else. I think if Shawn Porter can beat Terence Crawford, he'll be able to beat Errol Spence in the rematch. That's just my take on it. I think that if he can actually beat Terence Crawford, he will. And just imagine what that would do for his confidence. He would be unbeatable after that, I would think. I don't think Errol Spence will be able to beat Shawn Porter if Shawn Porter wins against Terence Crawford, because I don't really think that Errol Spence is the same Errol Spence that we knew when he first fought Showtime Shawn Porter. Not because of the accident or necessarily because of his eye, but because actually in that fight, I don't think Errol Spence was ever the same after that fight with Shawn Porter. I think Shawn Porter, took a lot out of Errol Spence in that fight. Okay. And then we had the accident on top of it, and then the eye and all that. So I think if they were to fight again, if Shawn Porter was to win the fight against Crawford and him and Errol Spence fight again, I think he would beat Errol Spence. But that's neither here nor there. Okay, that's in the future. And right now, Shawn Porter got bigger problems than Errol Spence to worry about, and that's Terence Crawford that he's fighting tonight. So I see. I don't know what Shawn Porter is coming out there to do. I don't know what he's going to try in terms of strategy as far as winning the fight, but I'm sure he has some kind of a plan, and he's going to come out there and try to implement that plan. But again, whatever plan you have, you're going to have to execute it, and that's where the rubber meets the road. And so we're going to see if Crawford is going to let him execute his plan. That is Shawn Porter's plan. Because, again, people talk about the fact that Shawn Porter comes in there and he doesn't let you fight your fight. You end up fighting his fight. But that's what happened with Shawn Porter and Errol Spence. That doesn't necessarily mean that's going to happen with Crawford and Porter. I don't think Crawford is going to go out there and fight Shawn Porter's fight the way Errol Spence did. I don't think Errol Spence had a choice in that fight because he just couldn't, get away from Shawn Porter. I think Crawford has better legs, better movement than Errol Spence, and I think he's going to use his legs to keep Shawn Porter at bay in terms of his movement, and he's going to be picking away at Shawn Porter as he's coming in, or whether Shawn Porter try to box or he try to rush in or whatever, he's going to run into combinations, okay, and this is what going to happen. I don't think he's going to be able to do the things that he did, which he did some great work against Errol Spence, in the way he fought that fight. That is Shawn Porter. He set the pace in that fight, and Errol Spence had to fight, according to his pace. I don't think he's going to be able to do that with Crawford. I mean, he's probably going to try, but I don't think it's going to be successful. I think Crawford just has better ring generalship, better movement, better legs than Errol Spence, and I think he'll be able to move around the ring and won't get caught up in an inside war like we saw with Errol Spence and Showtime Shawn Porter. So I'm looking at it and I'm seeing that I think that Crawford is gonna Showtime Shawn Porter is gonna try his best. He's gonna try to corner he's going to try to corner Terence Crawford, as much as he can, cutting the ring off and so forth and so on. But I think that he won't be able to do it, and he's going to run into a few punches, in this fight, I would think. Okay, but it depends on what strategy Shawn Porter comes out there with. We don't know what he's gonna do. I mean, he has, Shawn Porter is a versatile fighter. He has a lot of skills, and he can come out there and do almost anything. We don't know. We don't know what Crawford is gonna do. What style he's gonna use, but more than likely his style is gonna depend on what Shawn Porter does, because that's the way Terence Crawford approaches most fights. He just sees what the other fighter is doing, and then he just adjusts to that. So it should be an interesting fight, to say the least. Okay. But I just think that Crawford, has too many skills for Shawn Porter. And Shawn Porter said himself. I mean, he was asked about the fact that what if he thought that Errol Spence could beat uh Terence Crawford, and he said no. Terence Crawford has too many tools. Okay. So the way I look at that is, he was telling the truth in that interview. And I think the same thing applies you know, as with Errol Spence. I think that Errol Spence, just don't have enough tools to beat Crawford. And I think it's the same thing with Showtime Shawn Porter. I think, Crawford, as Shawn Porter himself says, he has too many tools in that fight against in a fight against a Crawford or a Spence. So I'm looking to see Crawford be successful tonight in a knockout between the first and the sixth round. Okay. I don't think it's going to go much past that, if at all. I think, between 1 and 6, we're going to see this fight end. And, I think that, the Kell Brook fight was an instructive lesson in that regard. Okay. A lot of people expected that fight to go the distance, and we all saw what happened. So, yeah, that's where I'm predicting that Crawford is going to win by KO between 1 and 6. And, that's what I see. So, with that said, I'm going to leave it there. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, okay? Make sure you go and like and subscribe to TBE Combat Sports. That channel I'll be uploading videos there very soon, okay? Go there and show some love to that channel, TBE Combat Sports. This is TBE Boxing saying, again, make sure you like and subscribe. That's all I have for right now. Enjoy the fight tonight. It should be a great one. I'm out.